Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Wednesday. You have Alyssa Corum here, and I'm joined by Justin Nielsen. Today, we are going to take a look at some wild swings that we saw in the market and some stocks that stood out today. Justin, I got a little whiplash today. Did you get a little whiplash?
Yeah, it was something. We were talking about this before the show. It was really hard to know what to make of it. So we're going to kind of dissect it, kind of give our thoughts, and see if we can figure this stuff out. But today we're going to go ahead and talk about DXCM. We'll also talk a little bit about what was going on in the chip space with monolithic power, and then we'll end with BorgWarner. So some names that you probably haven't heard us talk about all that much.
At least in a little while,
yeah right.
So we'll get to that. First, a look at the major indexes. The Nasdaq finishing up about 1% today after some pretty significant declines in the first half of the session. And the S&P 500 up about 1.5%, the Dow up 1.6%. So Justin, just when we thought yesterday, all right, we passed that threshold above that half standard deviation of the regression line, getting a little sky high here and getting a big test this morning. Nasdaq powers back higher again.
Yeah, and again, maybe if you just go ahead and take a look at the intraday action here on the Nasdaq, because the day looks so strong at the end here, but it had a lot of stuff going on at in the middle. So we had that strong start to the day, a huge gap up, and it just that freaked us all out. It's like, oh my gosh, we're already up so high, and then you gap up like that, and so that move down wasn't unexpected at all. What was unexpected, the move back up. We were undercutting the lows, and then that move back up was really strong. And I'll be honest, I didn't see that coming. Now, still, if you take a look at it, the S&P 500, if you go back to the daily, the S&P 500 did outperform today, and that just surpassed the 3,500 level recently. Now the Nasdaq is above 12,000 for the first time. Again, there's a lot of things that are looking extended here. I was certainly thinking that there was going to be more of the counter-cyclical move. A lot of the S&P 500 stuff was looking stronger, holding up better. Growth and tech was getting hit, and even though S&P 500 did end stronger, it still, I'm very impressed with the fact that the Nasdaq was able to come back like that. And you know what? Go ahead and just real quickly do an intraday on the S&P 500.
Okay, great.
Just to kind of show the difference.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, big difference.
Big difference there. I mean, the S&P 500, had a little bit of weakness after its gap up, but it just got stronger throughout the day and held very, very well off that gap.
That's right. And you know what? Tomorrow is another day, and we will roll with the punches once again, as we always do, and walk everyone through kind of our mindset on IBD Live. But the bottom line typically is to stay flexible. You can't just plant your flag. You have to be willing to bend a little bit, do what the market is telling you. But, there are some signs of a little bit of, I guess you could say, frothiness. Might just want to be a little bit more cautious at this point, but not totally say, all right, well, because we've been up so big, that definitely means we're in for a huge correction. We're not in the prediction business.
Yeah, and the thing is, you have to be ready for it to go either way. And so we were talking on IBD Live today. A lot of people were kind of reducing a little bit yesterday, reducing a little bit more today, really deciding, hey, what do I want to keep? What am I okay, just getting rid of right now? What do I not have that much cushion on versus the things that you've got really great average cost on and a lot of cushion. So those are the ones that are easier to hold through any type of correction. And again, there's nothing that says any type of big correction is coming. But even a pullback to the 21-day line at this point, it's going to sting a little. So
yeah. It's a pretty long ride, even down to just that level. So we will keep our guard up for that and anything that might happen tomorrow. But in the meantime, DXCM had a very strong day. DXCM, this was a little bit of a sleeper over the last couple of months. Playing possum a little bit, struggling to really hold above that 50-day / 10-week line, and a massive upside reversal today. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so, I mean, this was one of the things we were talking about on IBD Live as well, is, this kept on coming up, and, it was kind of like, I mean, it's still holding in there, but look at the relative strength line. And really, a lot of stocks that you saw, making some really big moves today were the ones with a little bit more of those lagging relative strength lines, so the ones that have been playing possum, the ones that have been kind of sitting out, those were some of the ones that were seeing some favor today. So there was a little bit of rotation, and the medical, the medical equipment, that's something that's been getting some power. I mean, we have ISRG on both swing trader and leaderboard. As you mentioned, this was just hugging that 50-day line so tightly, and as it broke out of that little tight area of the last 5 days or so, we did put this on swing trader as well.
Well, great call there, Justin. And next up, let's take a look at, you
Chris
mentioned the
actually
strength.
Chris gets credit for that one. He's the one that pointed
Chris.
it out to me. Yeah. So
yeah. And instead of waiting to the end of the show to do my promos like I normally do, this is a key time, or I guess a fitting time to point out that we do have our Swing Trader Scorecard monthly webinar today. So I know after this, you're going to run on over and do that. So we'll analyze these 2 more stocks really quickly. But if you are a subscriber to Swing Trader, we highly recommend that you join in on this monthly webinar, swingtrader.investors.com. That top banner message there, you'll be able to join. So you guys will be able to talk about some of these things.
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at Manpower, MPWR in the chips, MPWR in the chip sector.
You made the mistake that
power.
Everyone does. You called it Manpower. That
was
the old symbol, and you know what?
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
even think you were around when Manpower was, when that was the symbol for Manpower, but you've just caught bad habits from the rest of us.
I know. I got that from you guys, I guess, or that's my excuse.
Yeah,
but
so this is monolithic power.
Here. Yes, yeah. Monolithic power. Breaking out over a downward sloping trend line, following up on an upside reversal yesterday, tacking on another 4% today. And this has been such a strong name in this rally.
Yeah, but what was really unusual was how strong the chips were in general. Even when the Nasdaq was at its worst, a lot of these chips were doing very well. You just didn't see that much movement in them. So yeah, this filled in the gap. You can see that on the intraday chart that you're showing. It filled in the gap, but it really came back very quickly. And so there was definitely some strength there. And the SMH, which is the VanEck Semiconductors Index, and the SOXL, which is the triple leverage, both of those were among the top ETFs today.
All right, well, that was monolithic power. And now, last but not least, let's take a look at a little bit of a less familiar name here. BorgWarner in the trucking group with a gain of about 3.3% today after some nice tight action.
Yeah, and you know what? This is one that we were talking about because, again, Chris and I were going through ideas for Swing Trader, and it was just amazing how some of the names that were coming up were very counter-cyclical, not the usual things we've been talking about. For goodness sakes, we put a utility on Swing Trader today. So BorgWarner was one of the ones that came up. BWAI is a ticker symbol, and David was on our call as well, helping us out, and he mentioned how this is in the light EV chassis maker space. And so as you and Ed were talking about yesterday with Tesla, kind of showing some weakness after a huge rally, just phenomenal rally. It's not that EVs are dead. Sometimes it's the other members of the group that are helping make that happen. Sometimes they're kind of showing what's going on in the space too. But this broke out again out of a little flat area, little pullback on the relative strength line, and now you're seeing strength. But while this hasn't been the biggest participator in this rally, it had a very good looking chart today.
Oh yeah, some really nice technical action here. The one caution flag for me though, which I know fundamentals don't weigh as heavily into the decision making for swing trades, but the fundamentals aren't what you would get from your typical can slim name with that strong.
Yeah, so it's totally fine. It's totally fine to skip those and to be very disciplined in terms of really wanting those fundamentals in place. But it's also sometimes important to kind of go through just what's up the most, so you get a sense of where the strength is. And sometimes just by looking at one of these, I mean, go ahead and pull up AutoZone if you don't mind, AZO. And I know, gosh, it's already late, but we have to go. But just an example, this is not alone here. It's now again, AutoZone has much better fundamentals. Yes, it did have a negative quarter this last report, but it's not that this is alone. So there's other stuff in that group, and there's a lot of stuff in the counter-cyclical. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on that. There might be a rotation here. We've seen rotations before that were very short-lived. We thought they were happening, and then all of a sudden tech came on strong again. But it's always good to be aware of where the strength was on any given day.
Yes, such a great point, Justin. And we will see more of Justin here in just a little bit in the Swing Trader Scorecard webinar, again over at swingtrader.investors.com. But that's it for us today. And we'll see you at the Swing Trader Scorecard webinar and tomorrow morning on IBD Live. Thanks for watching.